Hi, I'm Corey Radzik, Assistant Safety Director for Benchmark Construction Company. Today we're going to be going over fall protection and fall prevention methods. We're going to be talking about the safety boot guardrail system, the cross arm strap, beam clamps, adjustable roof anchors, and the door jamb anchors. We'll be going over how to use each one of these products. So with the safety boot guardrail system, we need to fasten it to our flooring. The different kind of fastener is going to depend for what we're going into. For going into any kind of subfloor or wooden floors, we want to make sure we're picking the proper fasteners to be used, something like a lag screw. And it is also important to recognize that every fastener that we use must have a washer to be used. So we would use that there, and we also have to do all four corners of it. We can't just do 2 or 3. We have to go into every corner with it, with the fastener. If we're going into another, concrete, we would use something, a Tapcon with the fender washer. And then finally, if we're going into any kind of metal decking, we would use a sheet metal screw. Now that we have the safety boot fastened to the floor, we need to talk about the vertical uprights. The vertical uprights for the safety boot system are going to be 2 2x4 sandwiched together, and then we will fit them down into the safety boot themselves. Along with that, we're going to need to run a screw through the side of the safety boot into the 2x4s to hold it in there so it can't be dislodged from that location. Once we have that down, we're going to move on to our top and our mid rail. For our top rail, as you guys already know, our top rail needs to be 42 inches from the floor to the top of the rail, and our mid rail would be half of that, which is 21 inches to the floor. Once we have all them done, we can move on and put the toe board in to protect any workers from falling objects below. It's also going to be important to note that as guys are setting up this system, the guardrail system or the safety boot system, that they themselves will need to be tied off to protect themselves from the fall protection hazards, and we're going to explore some of those possibilities in the next sections. All right guys, what we have here is a door and window anchor. With these here, we want to adjust it using this pin here. So you can take this pin here and adjust it to our width of our door or our window. Now you're just going to get it close, and then we'll use the screw jack here to tighten it up the whole way. And it's also important to note when using one of these systems that our tie-off point is down here, the brass D-ring, and not this yellow bracket. So once we have the pin adjusted and we can get the door jamb anchor between the doors, we're going to slide it into place like this and use the screw jack here and tighten this up. And the bars on the side will give you your 5,000 pounds of rating. One option that we have for personal fall rest anchorage system is something called a reusable roof anchor. This here you guys are all familiar with. You've seen them on the jobs and we've all used them. Something that we need to look at though is what kind of fasteners and what screw pattern we're going to be using here with the reusable roof anchors. If we're going to be going into any kind of truss or joist that we can hit something wooden and solid, what we're going to do is some kind of lag screw, and we're going to go down the middle on both sides of the reusable roof anchor. If we're going into any kind of sheeting, some kind of wooden sheeting on the roof, we're going to be using a wood screw and going down the sides on both sides of the reusable roof anchor. And the last option we have is a concrete application where we would use Tapcons and go down the center of the reusable roof anchor on both sides. So our next option for fall protection anchorage is something called a beam clamp. With these, you want to adjust these, make sure they're far enough out. There's clamps on either side. We put them on the steel beam like this, and we push both ends in as tight as they can go. Now our tie-off point would be this D-ring here on a steel beam clamp. And then we can either anchor a retractable lanyard to it or a lanyard. It's also important to know that we need to inspect our equipment before using. We don't want to use a lanyard that's either frayed or has paint or any kind of acidic material on it like such. Another option for anchorage is something called a cross arm strap. As you can see here, I'm going to be going around this steel beam and you throw it over like so, and then you want to choke the smaller D-ring through the larger D-ring, and then we want to tie off to this D-ring here with either our retractable or our lanyard to reach our 5,000 pound weight limit.
I'd like to thank everyone for participating in this week's National Safety Stand Down and for viewing our Toolbox Talk videos. As always, if you have any questions about any items that we discussed or did not discuss in these two videos, do not hesitate to reach out to Corey or I.